Alrighty, let's start today with UJ, alright, USD JPY. We have our sell zone up here and our two buy zones down here. Now current price is over here, right? It's by this zone. And why did I mark this zone although it is in the black zone? Because it was a freshly made engulfing fail, right? So fresh zones are quite strong. So if it decides to respect this engulfing fail, decides to respect this engulfing fail, then potentially it would just shoot up into this sell zone up here. But if the price decides to disrespect this engulfing fail that it just made, then potentially it might want to test over here, all right? Because we know price travels from zone to zone, so you don't have to enter from here necessarily. You can just monitor where the price goes or how it reacts to this zone, and then wait for these two zones instead. All right, so on UJ, sell zone, engulfing buy that failed. All right, price only came back to test this key level, left a wick and dropped. So quite strong sellers over here. Then we have an engulfing sell that failed. Price came back again, only left wicks around the key level itself. So buyers over here are quite strong too. Both zones have no engulfings, the first nor second engulfings that happen within the zone yet. So we will wait for the price to come and see how it reacts, all right? So for now, monitor this particular zone. If H4 respects this engulfing fail, then potentially we will see this, all right? So let me draw it out like this. All right, current price is here. If it respects it, then potentially it could go all the way up into this zone, right? But if it is, in that case, if it retraces back into the key level for a better buy up. But the price can also just shoot up in one go like this. Okay, if it respects it, then it will potentially drop back down. But if it breaks it, then potentially it could test an even higher zone. And when it breaks, it can either shoot up in one go or retrace back into the key level for a better buy up. Vice versa, if it breaks this H4, then potentially it could just drop into the lower zone. After breaking, either it shoots down in one go or retrace back into the key level for a better sell down. Okay, so that's for H4. Where do you enter? Again, monitor M5 or M15 for entry. Okay, so that's for UJ. Now we go to EA. Okay, EA, we have a sell zone up here, two buy zones, and this zone is also kind of in the black zone, right? It's in the dark zone. But why am I marking this? Because this particular level was respected multiple times for the engulfings, right? We have an engulfing sell, meets engulfing sell, engulfing sell, another engulfing sell, engulfing sell, engulfing sell, engulfing sell. Then finally, this candle of the buyers broke. So this is a fresh engulfing failed zone. Okay, so we are going to monitor that also. Then we have our sell zone up here, an engulfing buy that failed. Price came back, created an engulfing sell over here. Then potentially, if this H4 decides to respect it, then potentially it will close below this candle's low and will create the second engulfing sell on H4 for this zone. All right, so current price is over here. What can EA do? Okay, I've marked an M15 zone. I'm just going to show you why I've marked it. All right, this is an M15 zone because on this key level itself, it had an engulfing buy that came down, came back up, created an engulfing sell, another engulfing sell. So we kind of have a zone over here that pushed this price down. Then over here we have an engulfing buy that respected, so engulfing buy meets engulfing buy, but finally broke over here. So it was a freshly made engulfing failed zone. So if M15 decides to respect this particular zone and closes within, then makes it drop, then we know it would potentially just test this zone. But if it breaks above, again, disrespecting this zone that it just made where the sellers won over the buyers, then potentially it might retrace back into the key level over here for a better sell down. Okay. Okay, again, price travels from zone to zone. So especially if you move from time frame to time frame, you kind of have to see what the potentials are for different time frames and see the likely chance of it when you combine everything. Okay, so let me go back to H4. Okay, current price, screenshot this. Okay, current price, if it decides to drop into our buy zone and respect it, then potentially it could bounce back up. But if it breaks the zone, then potentially it might want to test a lower zone down below. Like this, vice versa. If it climbs up into our sell zone and respects it, then potentially it could drop back down. But if it breaks the zone, then potentially it could go even higher like this. Okay, where do you say your SLs? 40 pips from entry. Okay, so like this, to allow some movements. Now we go to EG, our last pair. Okay, we have, sell zone, buy zone. Why is it a buy? This is an engulfing buy that basically held the price up all the way up here. That was 181 pips, okay? So from this engulfing buy itself, it flew 181 pips. When price came back, it left a wick, showing the buyers really pushed the price. As soon as it touched, whoop, psh, poked and went. Alright, so the buyers over here are quite strong. But has it created an engulfing buy within the zone yet? No. Okay, so we're going to monitor this particular zone for our buys. Then on the sell zone, we have engulfing buy that failed over here. In the process of failing, created an engulfing sell. Then the price came back, created another engulfing sell just below. So we have a complete setup of A, B, C on EG for a sell. Okay, so what can it do? Current price is over here. If it decides to respect this zone, then potentially we can catch a sell back down. But if it breaks above, then the price might actually want to test a zone up above, okay, like this. But if the price decides to just drop down in one go and respect our buy zone, then potentially we can try to catch a buy back up. But if it breaks the zone, then potentially it might want to test a lower zone like this. All right, so that's for EG, and that's for all the three pairs. So again, it is Friday. Market can sometimes be volatile during the US session, okay, especially the US session. So wait for the H4 to close, find the setups in the smaller time frame after H4 has closed to lower your risk. Then you can decide if you want to risk your capital in gaining something in the market. When you press into it after the decision, make sure to stick to your SLs and TP, okay? Be disciplined. Whether you win or lose in that setup, be disciplined and take accountability for your actions because you chose to enter the market. All right? All right. Trade smart, trade wisely. I'll update the pairs in a few hours or so, and I'll talk to you soon.